Hello and welcome to CNR Extra here on Citi TV. It's coming to you live from our studios at number 5, Oula Hansen Lane, Tesano, Accra. My name is Nana Tuffour Boateng. Coming up. One person battling for his life while 6 others sustained varying degrees of injury as a 3-story building collapsed at Old Botiano in the Ga South municipality.
This is a big surprise because there was nothing that indicates that this building could collapse. I mean, look at the building. I mean, there was no sign.
Also coming up, the Trades Union Congress leads protest against Sunan Asogli Power Limited over dismissal of 3 workers of the company.
Today, we are demonstrating to the whole world that unions in this country will exercise their rights.
Yeah. Court dismisses injunction application on election of Eastern Regional Executives of the National Democratic Congress.
If they had been restrained, what it would mean is that we don't have any regional executive for the entire Eastern region. So it was a very important ruling for us, and we're happy with the outcome of the ruling.
And later, Ghana Water Company Limited cuts water supply to Guinness Ghana for non-payment of bills. Meanwhile, the brewery debunks the claims.
Guinness is showing no faith to pay the tariff which have been given to the industry. And so this is the reason why we are here to disconnect them.
The show is always interactive, and so we would like for you to join us via your comments, thoughts, and contributions. The WhatsApp number is on your screens. You can also join us live on YouTube and Facebook. Don't forget to use the hashtag CNR Extra if you're tweeting at us on Twitter. Joining me in studio this morning is Hansen Ajiman.
Good morning, Anna.
Hansen, is midweek.
It's midweek.
The weekend is fast approaching.
You know what happens on weekend, right?
I know, but it appears this would be a busy one if everything should go according to plan.
But Dr. Tuffour is saying
he doesn't want it to
be
a normal
that we
weekend.
should have our normal weekend.
We should enjoy our normal weekend.
But he lied, but the NDC is saying no. They will still hold it.
I'm sure we'll be getting into that while we move on or we make progress with the show. But to start it off, we're going to Old Botiano, where there's been a building collapse. We understand one person is currently battling for his life. 6 others also sustained varying degrees of injury.
One person is in critical condition while 6 others have sustained varying degrees of injuries after a church auditorium collapsed on them at Old Botiano in the Ga South municipality of the Greater Accra region. The 3-story auditorium of the Word in Action Church collapsed on Tuesday morning while construction work was ongoing. Correspondent Calvis Tete has more in the following reports.
Just behind me is the Word in Action Chapel at Old Botiano in the Greater Accra region. This church collapsed in the early hours of this morning, forcing church members to rush here. The over 500 sitting capacity of the church is down. We'll be engaging the National Disaster Management Organization and some church leaders on the matter. According to an eyewitness who spoke to us on site, the 7 construction workers heard a loud noise prior to the building collapsing, and this led to the eventual collapse of the building. 7 persons who were injured have been rushed to the Botiano Polyclinic, but one of them, who is in critical condition, has been transferred to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
Because from the CC the national the pillars on say entrance view it's pillars in so allow say I just say sorry man a bit to me because here into me we are inside sorry might be about workers spend
But a member of the church gives us a better understanding of the situation. According to her, they worshipped here on Sunday and did not notice any crack in the premises. She is surprised that the church has collapsed. Tell us, how long have you been churching here?
About a year and a half now.
And when was this building put up?
I can't tell. I can't tell. I joined the church about a year and a half ago.
Okay, so what happened here?
Well, I was called that our church building was coming down, so I came to take a look at what was happening.
Okay, let's look. Prior to a building collapsing, there will be signs. Just this past Sunday, you were in church. Mm-hmm. Did you notice anything?
No, there was no sign. There was nothing. I mean, this is a big surprise because there was nothing that indicates that this building could collapse. I mean, look at the building. I mean, there was no sign. As we are all surprised at what has happened here, but we thank God that nobody was hurt. There hasn't been any casualty. I mean, nobody was hurt, so we thank God.
Okay. We also heard that there were some individuals who were around, whether they were working or not.
One guy and a couple of people who were around, and so they were taken to the hospital and they are fine. It's disheartening. I mean, we are shocked, we are surprised, and all the adjectives you can use, but we thank God for one thing, that no human life was lost. And we give praise to God, because if you look at what has happened here and no human life was lost, it means that God is on our side. He has protected us, He has taken us out of this misery, and we thank Him for that.
Can I say that maybe some of the materials that were used in this thing?
I am not an engineer, I cannot speak to that.
The National Disaster Management Organization in the South Municipality quickly rushed to the scene to begin a search and rescue operation. The 7 persons who were rescued have been rushed to the hospital. But NADMO says they are yet to determine the immediate cause of the accident. Wanda Matthew speaks for the National Disaster Management Organization in the South Municipality.
For now, I can't bring out any assessment yet, simply because the engineers are now trying to work on it and then bring their assessment. So for now, we can't say anything. It is the engineers who will bring their findings for now. But what I can say now is we have only, them themselves said there are only 7 in the building. And those 7 are all injured. So they've taken them to, what do you call this place? Botiano Hospital. And one has been transferred to Kolebu. So that was it.
Experts have begun questioning the structural integrity of the building. ADO2 Alex Nate speaks for the Ghana National Fire Service in the Greater Accra region.
So hurriedly, our men from Wager were dispatched to the scene to offer their assistance to see if there were any lives lost. So they had to call in for our rescue team from our national headquarters to come and complement the efforts of the men here. And when we came, we gathered that there were 7 people who were trapped, but they had been rescued. We just didn't want to take it like that, so we had to do our further checks with our collaborative agencies like NADMO, the police, and the municipal assemblies to be sure if there was truly no one left trapped in there. And truly, we were able to confirm that there were just 7 people who were working on site who were injured. As it stands, 6 of them are currently receiving medical attention at Botiano Polyclinic. The one person is in a very critical condition, has been rushed to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital for much more medical care. And one thing that we also realized is that in our discussion with the municipal assemblies, it came to light that the church didn't have the requisite permit to have this building. They had an initial permit that was granted to them, but per the checks of the municipal assemblies, they realized that the church was building something other than the plan they had brought earlier that was approved. So their permit was revoked. So as it stands now, they didn't even have a permit for the building and then the extension they were doing. So as it stands now, we can say that working theory is that they were operating without a permit from the municipal assembly.
Over 7 persons are believed to have gotten injured as a result of the collapse of the church just behind me. This is the Word in Action Church at Old Botiano in the Greater Accra region. Church members say the issue has taken them by surprise and they are worried that the church has collapsed. Authorities from the National Disaster Management Organization are here to ascertain the situation. Carl Estete, Citi News, Old Botiano.
Well, this happens to be the 4th building collapse in the space of about 1 week. And it cuts across. We've seen commercial buildings, a church building, at UDS, a building supposed to be a lecture hall, has also collapsed. Now, for me, what worries me the most is the structural integrity of these buildings and what level of supervision went on during construction.
Ours is a very sorry state, I must say, Nana. I just want to read.
Oh, that's a very gloomy picture you are painting.
Yes, I want to read I want to read an extract for you.
Oh no! Sometimes you need to calm down.
I want to read an extract for you. If it is not a sorry state, I want to read an extract for you, and I want you to guess within what period this statement might have been said. We have proven that we don't have memory when it comes to disasters like these. We tend to react with emotions in the heat of the disaster and then forget soon, after without serious actions to prevent future recurrence. If these past trends of building collapse are anything to go by, then we should all be worried that more people are going to be trapped under buildings and other structures in the foreseeable future if we do not do the right thing from now on to prevent the incident. When do you think this statement was said, and by who?
I can hazard a guess. We're looking at Engineer Mahama.
This was said in 2012 by the Ghana Institute of Safety and Environmental Professionals. Now, this was said when the Malcolm disaster had just happened, claimed a lot of lives. And in their statement after the incident, they listed about about 10 incidents of building collapse, some dating as far back as 2000. In 2000, 2 people were reported missing and 16 others injured. 8 of them were serious when a 3-story building they were working on suddenly collapsed on them at Medina. December 13, 2002, 4-story building collapses in Accra. An observant fire officer saved hundreds of lives in Accra by evacuating a 4-story building moment before it collapsed. December 15, 2006, in Asafo Kumasi, a 4-story building collapsed with car park under construction at the OA Travel and Tour Terminal. 2008, in Kumasi, 27-year-old man died on the spot when a 2-story building, which he and his colleagues were constructing, collapsed at Dinyame, a suburb of Kumasi. 2008, KJTR, again, a 2-story building collapsed. October 9, 2009, in Ashaman, Accra, 4 persons lost their lives. 31st January, Takwa Western Region, 3 persons were killed. I mean,
I'm not sure you can look up a number of them.
I can go. I've not even come to the recent one, I think in the Western region, where a church building collapsed. And I mean, let's go to recommend. If I say it's a sorry state, look at the recommendations and the questions the institute the Ghana Institute of Safety and Environmental Professionals was asking at the time. Was the soil quality confirmed through a comprehensive subsoil investigation? Was permit acquired for this building? If yes, was the necessary due diligence carried out before the permit? Was the building designed and built for retail trading? Was the building design approved? Was the right and quality materials used for the construction? Nana, are these questions any different from what we've been hearing authorities saying? I mean, we had the
Institution of Engineering also,
raised similar concerns. And so if I say ours is a sorry state, it's not as though I'm being cynical or pessimistic, but it is the fact on the ground. I mean, after the Malcolm incident,
so we never learned.
2 persons were initially arrested and charged with negligence causing harm. What has happened to that case? I mean, what has even happened to that report? As far back as 2017, there were reports that Malcolm was demanding a release of the investigative report on that incident. Somewhere in 2020, victims had said that they've not heard anything, no compensation, no form of prosecution whatsoever. If we are going to prevent some of these things, we have to act decisively. It's the same thing when it comes to flooding. June 3rd came. We said never again.
Yeah.
After June 3rd, we can
still saying never
we
again.
are still saying never again. So we are a country that seems not to learn, and it's very disturbing. And it's important because you see, authorities have everything. They have a greater responsibility because if you leave it in the hands of the citizen, and that's why they are lost. Because you have people who, by their nature, just do not want to go in accordance with law.
Yeah.
And reason, enforcement, and implementation of law is very necessary.
So although a shared responsibility, the back stops with leadership.
Exactly.
Those in authority.
Certainly.
Right. And then, of course, if we were, just hopping on to what you said, if we are really to ensure that some of these things do not occur, then, of course, there should be some level of punishment which should be published for everyone to know that if you're found guilty of negligence with respect to the rules you're supposed to follow during construction, then this punishment is guaranteed that you're getting.
Anybody who has gone in against the law and ought to be punished, I'm right for it. And I think that when it comes to planning of our societies, it should go beyond produce permit. I mean, when you've learnt a little bit of geography, they tell you about land use.
Yeah.
And almost every single land in every place is supposed to have a use. Yeah. And if you go to places, advanced communities, they make sure that if you earmark this place for community development, go across, even here in Tesano, aside the Tesano clubhouse, is there any playground you can say that the average Ghanaian child can enjoy? Take your affluent communities in the Greater Accra.
There's one off the neck of Tesano, somewhere around Abeka.
All these are private, I suppose.
The new parks they're doing. The AstroTurf parks.
Yes. So, but even with the AstroTurfs, a lot of people have raised concerns as to how it is being implemented. Yeah. I mean, go to your not so middle class communities. All the football pitches have been sold.
Yeah, that's true.
All those places that we used to play, you will go there and then there's a concrete building there.
And so areas earmarked for community development are now being used for commercial construction.
We are simply not going according to our land use and
special planning.
That we are supposed to go. And when we do this, we encounter some of these issues. Yeah. And you get people building at places they are not supposed to build. You get people cutting corners and not using the right materials. Yeah. And it results in issues like this. I mean, one person is battling for his life. Who knows? Yeah. He may come out
or may not.
Or even come out with complications.
Exactly.
And can become a burden on the family for a very long time.
Right. So let's crack the whip. Let's ensure that persons found culpable in some of these incidents are punished. If it's just an act of nature, of course, measures can be taken to forestall future occurrences. Let's take cue from this. And of course, let's learn. Hansen believes we are a sorry state, but I am of the view that there's room for improvement. So let's cut the nation some slack.
Hope is good. Hope is good. Hope is good.
Anyways, the mother body of all unions in the country, the Trades Union Congress, yesterday led a protest to demand the reinstatement of some 3 leaders of the Ghana Mines Workers Union, whose contracts have been dismissed by the Sunan Asogli Power Company Limited.
Now in some other news, the Trades Union Congress, TUC, on Tuesday, May 9, 2023, demonstrated against Sunan Asogli Power Limited for its refusal to reinstate 3 dismissed workers who are local union executives of the Congress. According to the union, the workers had their contracts terminated because they decided to join the Ghana Mine Workers Union under the Trades Union Congress. But Sunan Asogli has refuted such claims, explaining that the workers were dismissed due to the union's unlawful operations in the company. The following report has more.
Clad in red and black were members of the Trades Union Congress protesting in solidarity with the Ghana Mine Workers Union, a union under the Trades Union Congress. They are protesting what they describe as the wrongful dismissal of 3 of their local union executives who happen to be workers of Sunan Asogli Power Limited. According to them, their members were dismissed from the company because they decided to join the union, but Sunan Asogli has refuted such claims. Speaking to the media, the Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, Dr. Yauba, says he remains positive that the workers will be reinstated.
We workers in Ghana are not against any investor coming to Ghana. But Sunan Asogly's $750 million cannot buy our rights.
No way!
No way! No way! So today, we are demonstrating to the whole world that unions in this country will exercise their right.
Yes.
We will not allow our 3 colleagues to be dismissed.
Yes.
Our demand is very simple, and we have made it very clear to the employer that our 3 colleagues must be reinstated.
They must be reinstated!
And we will fight and fight and fight until they are reinstated. And we know that the goal that has brought us here will be achieved. Inshallah.
The dismissed union leaders are the branch union secretary, assistant secretary, and the chairperson. The protest was devoid of violence. The police ensured law and order. Barricades were mounted 200 meters away from the company to prevent the protesters from entering the premises. Abdul Mumin Gbana is the general secretary of the union, and he indicated that the dismissal is a deliberate attempt to cripple the formation of the union in the company.
A Chinese employer called Sunan Asogly. Our rights as workers are being abused by a Chinese employer called Sunan Asogly. Are we going to sit down for this to happen? Will we sit down for this to happen? Shall we sit down for this to happen? Choboy! 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 They dismissed 3 of our leaders, our union leaders. Do we not come from different companies? Choboy! Choboy! Why must Sunan Asogly be different?
No!
Why must Sunan Asogly be different?
No!
Choboy! Choboy! We will not sit down for this to happen to us. Our 3 union leaders must be reinstated. Choboy!
Dr. Yauba, however, revealed that the Trade Union Congress will not relent in ensuring their demands are met. He added that series of actions have been lined up to ensure Sunan Asogly reinstates the dismissed workers.
We will go on and on until we get our 3 colleagues reinstated. It's a process. We are law-abiding. We don't want to have any confrontation with the police. That's why I'm asking all colleagues to go back. Now, this is the first action. The second action will follow very, very soon. And we expect government to act. If government doesn't want to do anything, we will do something. We met management and we asked them, our 3 colleagues, what have they done? The answer is that they have not done anything. And I want to repeat, they said they have not done anything, but they are sacking them because the company doesn't need their services. These are people who have worked between 6 and 10 years. Immediately after they were elected, all 3 of them were sacked. Going forward, we want government to act. We want the employers themselves to act. We want them to understand that you cannot.
Well, the TUC has made its stance clear, supporting the Mine Workers Union in their demand for the reinstatement of these 3 persons who have been dismissed. Today, we are hearing that they are courting the support of organized labor itself to join them in making this demand. This, we also understand, is one of a series of actions they are looking to take to make sure that their demands are met. I mean, to what extent would the TUC go to get
TUC is a very resilient organization. I mean, there are those who think that the union has not lived up to expectation and not necessarily ensured that the welfare of the Ghanaian worker truly is at the center of its activities. But if you look at the facts available and if you look at some of the advocacies that we've seen recently, they've tried as much as possible to stay with the workers. And I won't be surprised if they have a unanimity of support for a nationwide protest or even a nationwide strike. In solidarity with the workers,
which is very possible,
which
very
is
likely
possible.
to happen.
And if that happens, in essence, it is bringing everything to a standstill. And that's why yesterday I indicated that it's necessary that authorities come in and make sure that the issues are dealt with. But I'm particularly excited that the protest was peaceful. It is their right to protest. And when they got to the gates of Senator Sogli and they were told not to enter, the leaders respected that directive, addressed their people, dispersed them off and went home. The story we are saying today, or we are telling today, is that they need these 3 people reinstated. If it was not peaceful, the story may have changed.
Exactly.
And today, we won't be focusing on
the actual demand,
but looking at how many people have been arrested. And so for me, I'm for the protest culture to its extreme ends. As far as it's peaceful and it follows the law, it gets us to focus on the real issues and make sure that we get results. Our democracy has essentially been built and improved by protests. And so we are a people of protest. we protest for everything. And it looks as though that is what our leaders listen to. When you go to them with letters, when you go to them with meetings, they seem not to hear you. But immediately you hit the street, they reconvene meetings. And so I hope that the protest at its early stage will get some results so that they need not escalate it.
He who has ears, let them hear. Let's not wait for the had I known stage where things will get out of hand. Let's deal with it as it is now. Because Dr. Yauba, very unassuming, but very, very strategic. You can actually judge from his May Day speech.
I mean, I think that when it comes to, the May Day speech, it was very interesting. You see, people can twist it to whatever extent. But to have the president in front of you
and to be able to say some of the things he said
and speak directly to him, it's for me, I think it's commendable. And this group of leaders of the labor group, I think that some of them are very resilient. The Clocksack boss,
Dr. Isaac Bampo.
Dr. Isaac Bampo. I think, I mean, look at
even his deputy, Krakani.
Yes. When they are in for something, and you see, I will always be on the side of workers because workers are the builders and they make sure that the company moves. They are the engine of the company. And so if their welfare is not at heart, if they have issues with salary and they raise it, I think that they are justified whatsoever. In this our country that we are in, recently there was a conversation on Twitter where people were sharing their stories. And like there are people who are, one person shared a story of a lady earning less than 1,500 cedis. And she's been working for more than 10 years. I mean, in my early days here at Citi, I did a story on unemployment where I spoke to a man who had worked for close to 10 years and was not a supervisor. And within 10 years, his salary had only increased from 70 cedis to 700 cedis.
Wow.
I mean, this was a supervisor. Then you imagine the other workers. And so the Ghanaian worker, to a large extent, is shortchanged most of the time. And so if the Ghanaian worker comes out to say, he's demanding for A, B, C, D, I would definitely support the Ghanaian worker.
And it's imperative that he's engaged, and then we find, I mean, there's an agreement as to what levels of increment, of course, proposed adjustments that can be agreed to. You know that JUSAG is actually meeting the NLC and government officials, representatives today over the proposed
salaries. And we would keep tabs on that and bring an update to viewers. But just to clarify, the issue with Nana Sogli has nothing to do with salaries. It has to do with the termination
of appointment. Yeah. All right. You're still watching CNR Extra here on Citi TV. Still ahead. Ghana Water Company Limited cuts water supply to Guinness, Ghana for non-payment of bills. Meanwhile, the company has debunked the claims. We'll tell you more shortly. Do stay with us.
Members of
Day 4. Now this promises to be a long day of discovery. Waking up at the Ganas Hotel and enjoying a sumptuous breakfast, we are ready. Experience a display of fashion and all sorts of artifacts and memorabilia. Conversations with patrons, with drivers, with vendors. Then we head out to Paga. At the Pagapio Palace, a beautiful reception awaits with all the dance and pageantry. Watch out for Day 4, Part 1 of the Heritage Caravan Diaries.
Welcome back. Grateful that you stayed on with us. So let's bring you some more stories. And today happens to be day 3 of the second round of picketing by pensioner bondholders. Let's bring you a report from day 2 of the picketing.
Members of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum continued their picketing at the Finance Ministry on Tuesday, demanding government to pay all outstanding coupons and principals on their bonds. Now, this is the second time the group of pensioners is implementing the tactic after they successfully secured an issuer exemption from the Domestic Debt Exchange Program in February. Now, Charles Osukumi was there for Citi News and has more. Charles, tell us more.
Well, Frema, today marks day 2 of the picketing at the Finance Ministry by the Pensioner Bondholders Forum. Now, members of this group since yesterday have been picketing the Finance Ministry in protest of government's failure to pay outstanding coupons and principals on their investments. Also, they complain about the level of communication that's coming out of the Finance Ministry. They say that they expect government to be forthcoming with information that they can use to plan their lives.
If you exempt somebody, then you don't come back and say, let me discuss with you. It is the person who stepped out that you are saying, look, you stepped out, but now I'm finding it difficult. But this one I exempted because I am sure that together with those who joined, I can pay them. Fine, that is it. Then now, we come 21st, you say that we said no. Then we give you up to 28th. Then you announce that you pay all before the end of the month. It is just fair at a certain level to maintain your integrity and your word. Because you have told the whole world and you have told us, your creditors, that I'll pay everything before me. Now what happens? Nothing happens. We are now in May. Early March, bills have not been paid. Then suddenly, when we say we'll go, you start paying. You are paying it in pieces. Today you pay 6th, then you come to 20th, then there's another 6th which is outstanding, and we have to figure out what is happening. If you have a problem, I think in all fairness, because you wrote and stood in front of Parliament and on behalf of the Finance Ministry said, and on behalf of the government of Ghana said, I have exempted you. Tell the person, I have a problem. These specific dates, I'll pay these amounts. The person can also plan, go to bed.
Well, it's ideal. People would have peace of mind. They know, look, come next week, come 2 weeks' time. Because all the coupons are paid at 6 months interval. So people plan with their resources. If others have several bonds, so they've staggered it. They know that every month I'll get 1,000, I'll get this, I will use it for that, I'll use for this. That is the purpose of going into these government bonds, which is supposed to be the most secure for a pensioner who doesn't want aid. And in most cases, that's the investment with the lowest return.
I'm sure you've heard most of us say that we are all dependent on the coupons because our pensions are not too much. So this is what we depend on to buy, our medications, fend for ourselves, cater for ourselves, and not just for us, but also for those who are also dependent on us, widows, orphans, the needy, the sick, etc., etc. So it's not just about us, it's also about all those who are dependent on us, and so it is not auguring well for us.
Now, throughout our coverage of the protests by the pensioner bondholders, one thing that's come up is that these pensioners are not just protesting for themselves, but also their dependents. They say their dependents are more affected than they themselves. We're fortunate to have with us a 92-year-old woman who says that her daughter's earnings from the bonds is what keeps her going. We're trying to find out how the non-payment of these bonds is affecting her life. Your daughter invested money that your husband left for you, to be able to take care of these things in your old age. And now government is not making these payments as scheduled. And so you're unable to buy your drugs.
I'm not able to buy them. They're not even more expensive. Okay. Most of them, they're expensive. So I'm not able to buy my drugs for my health, to take care of my health, and to pay my staff. Well, I'm supporting because I cannot work. I don't do anything. I depend on them. The carers, there are two of them. Coming from, some employed, they come to take care, rotate. And then the one who preparing my meals, who prepares my meals daily. And though the cleaners, the one who's here, and then the garden man, they all come to take care of me. I have to pay them. You see, how do I do that now if I don't have my money? If the bond, that's my bond, if they're not releasing to me regularly, how do I look after them? How do I survive? That's my big question. I just want to tell the finance minister to have some compassion on the people like me, an old aged woman, who cannot do anything now. I have also served this nation before, so he should let me have whatever is my due. Should let me have it.
These pensioner bondholders fought very hard in February to get exemption from the domestic debt exchange program. So I asked Dr. Nana Tuffour, the convener for the group, if this is not enough grounds to go to court to force the ministry to pay them their money.
We won't go to court. Court processes. You can't wait for your coupon when you are in court and you are dying. No, we must put pressure on government to pay us. We won't go to court. The maturity, we have one yesterday. So until it is cleared up to yesterday, government still has outstanding. And we are clear. We say pay all outstandings before we stop the picketing.
But isn't that asking for too much?
It is not too much. It's our money.
My name is Charles Osukumi. I've been reporting from the Finance Ministry for Citi News.
I think I want to agree with Dr. Nana Tuffour in his decision not to go to the courts in this matter. I feel going to the court will limit his options.
Immediately you go to court, what will happen is that the state will say you're in court, so we are battling in court.
Exactly.
So any opportunity for a repayment will be closed until the case is heard. And we know how long court cases may take. You have to serve writs, they have to reply, you have to do
and of course, there's the legal shenanigans people do to delay processes.
I'm not part of them.
Well,
yes.
Just saying.
Yes, I just report from the court. And so they just have to go through all these things. And so if you look at the time, you can only appeal and insist on it. And the interview Charles had with the
Dr. Nana Tuffour, or the pensioners.
The pensioner, the one he went to her home.
Yes.
Tells it all. Yesterday I was making the point that this is not a time for committee. This is not the time. I mean,
pay us our money.
Nana, I mean, she can't be my grandmother, and so at this time, her option of feeding and paying for her medical bills is dependent on the money that she's put on the bond. How many weeks does government want them to hold meetings before government pays? This is a no-no. There's only one option out of here, and that option is for government to pay, and all of us must tell government to pay. Nana, tell government.
Government, please pay the matured coupons and the principals of bonds of the pensioner bondholders. Let's move on to some other stories. And the Ghana Water Company Limited has cut supply to Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited. Let's find out why.
The Ghana Water Company Limited has cut water supply to Guinness Ghana Limited in Achimota. The company is accused of failing to pay its bills amounting to over 6 million cedis. There is more in the following report filed by Citi News' Victoria Bonto and read by Kweku Ejema Ansa.
As part of its national revenue mobilization drive, the Ghana Water Company Limited on Tuesday cut water supply to beverage manufacturing company Guinness Ghana Limited for owing 6.7 million Ghana cedis. The Ghana Water Company Limited says several letters to the company to get it to pay its debts yielded no results. Addressing the media after the disconnection, Regional Chief Manager of the Accra East region of the Ghana Water Company Limited, Engineer Emmanuel Johnson, said the company will need to pay its bills before water supply is restored.
Plan with us. Some are preparing to pay for the rest of the money. Some are prepared to pay. And but Guinness is showing no faith to pay the tariff which have been given to the industry. And so this is the reason why we are here to disconnect them, because we have had a series of meetings. Even last week, Tuesday, we had a meeting with them, and based on that, they were supposed to meet us at 10 o'clock today and draw a payment plan for us, but they didn't turn up. They didn't give us any indication. Upon the mails that we sent them, they didn't give us any indication that they are coming. And so that's why we are here, and we are here to disconnect them.
But we noticed that you went to take them off over there instead of the main entrance. Why did you do so and then had to disconnect them from behind?
Inside there's a meter. It's an electronic meter. We could have disconnected them there, but we want to disconnect them on the sluice valve. So that's why we went to the junction to disconnect them. And that line is a dedicated line to them. So it affects only them.
Meanwhile, Guinness Ghana Limited has denied reports its water supply has been cut. The company, in a statement to Citi News, says its breweries in Accra and Kasi in the Shanti region are still in operation. According to the beverage company, it has been compliant in the payment of its water bills while it awaits resolution from a petition to the PURC on what it terms arbitrary recategorization by the Ghana Water Company Limited. It adds that the company has been engaging the PURC, the Ghana Water Company Limited, and the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources on the matter, pending the outcome of the petition.
Well, the company, Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited, has indeed confirmed that water supply was cut abruptly to their Achimota plant. Now, in a statement issued and dated May 10, 2023, titled Guinness Ghana is committed to doing business the right way, it says Guinness Ghana Breweries PLC, into bracket, Guinness Ghana, can confirm that water supply from Ghana Water Company Limited, GWCL, to its Achimota site was abruptly cut yesterday, Tuesday, 9th May 2023 at 8 p.m. without notice to the company. However, we confirm our breweries continue its operations. The disconnection was executed by a task force from the GWCL, notwithstanding the resolutions agreed from a meeting on Tuesday, May 9, 2023, chaired by the Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources and attended by the Managing Director of the GWCL and the leadership of Guinness Ghana. The outcome of the meeting was to await the result of the PURC's investigations and to hold a tripartite meeting between GGB PLC, GWCL, and the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, During this period, no disconnection was to be effected. And so clearly, it suggests or it tells you that there has been some level of negotiations or engagement with respect to water supply and, of course, payment for water consumed between the GWCL and Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited. However, what we are not sure is where the negotiations broke off and why the action was taken to disconnect the company.
I've told you that when it comes to state institutions going after their debtors, I'm always all for it. And however, it should be done in that civility. That
there should be a human face to.
Not necessarily human face in terms of forgiving.
Not to forgive. No, but once you have consumed the water, you must pay for it.
You must pay, but it must be carried out in a way that for some of these important organizations, and most especially when Guinness Ghana, per their statement, is indicating that they've shown some form of good faith. I think it's worth noting that they are saying that it has not necessarily affected operations, but I think that this will be dealt with because, you know, Nana, the made of black squad are plenty. The made of black squad are many in
After
town.
Guinness fellowship members.
Yes, so they should try as much as possible to solve this amicably.
Very, very important that the stakeholders mentioned in this statement sit and really come to an amicable solution on this matter. Now to some politics, and of course, from our introductory remarks, the NDC's primaries this weekend seems to be in limbo because one of the flag bearer aspirants is in court seeking to injunct the entire process.
Flag bearer hopeful of the National Democratic Congress, Dr. Nana Tuffour, has filed a suit at the High Court in Accra seeking to injunct the NDC presidential primaries slated for Saturday, May 13. The former finance minister is alleging that the photo album register provided for the purpose of the election is incomplete and contains inaccuracies that may be aimed at creating undue advantage for the manipulation of the presidential primaries. In a writ cited by Citi News, Dr. Tuffour alleged that the party failed to provide him the photo album in time for verification, and when it was done, the number of constituencies were 220. He further alleged that 3,910 voters have been disenfranchised and an exceptional list of 74,799 voters have been created to take part in the elections whose identities cannot be verified because of scanty information.
Just when we thought we were going to enjoy some political action this weekend, it appears that may hang in the balance if really this injunction. But once he's filed for an injunction and same has been served, then of course there's cause for concern, right?
I mean, these are legitimate concerns because it is the voter register that you're going to use to do the election. And so if you do not have confidence in the voter register, most especially when you're not able to verify same, you will raise concerns as to whether this will actually lead to an injunction. We do not know. The party has indicated that they've been served, they've taken notice of it, but until a court injuncts them to halt the election, they are going ahead with their plans on the election. And so we can only wait. Dr. Nana Tuffour believes that he has legitimate concerns. He's alleging that some 17,000 exclusive lists have been added to the register that he's not been able to confirm their identity. He's talking about some 3,000 persons who have been disenfranchised. And if you look at delegates elections, sometimes the numbers are not that huge. And so every single vote counts, and it's just by a simple majority. And so we hope that the party, what he's seeking for essentially is a credible photo album register. So I'm sure if between today and Saturday, if that is provided for him,
we're good.
And he's given the appropriate avenue to verify these things, I think that that's what he's asking for.
I have heard a member of the Functional Executive Committee of the NDC, Alex Sebefia, admit that there are some discrepancies. but in same light, he says they are being rectified. So hopefully this is done before May 13, and then the primaries can go on as scheduled.
Well, the NDC was supposed to hold their, there were engagements that the presidential primary should have been held quite earlier. So you get the level of commitment that they're having to be able to, in trying as much as possible, to hold the primaries May 13 and be able to prepare adequately for 2024.
Right, let's still stay with the NDC, but this time in the Eastern region, where another injunction, interlocutory injunction, filed against the new Eastern Regional Executives has been dismissed.
The High Court in Koforidua has dismissed an application for interlocutory injunction filed by the former Eastern Regional Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, against the new regional executives of the party. The former chairman, John Owusu Amankwa, was seeking to injunct the regional executives from holding themselves as executives while praying the court to annul the regional elections held on the 19th of December 2022 and hold fresh elections. Citi News' Neil Ni Amate Kanaku followed the court proceedings and has the details.
The former Eastern Regional Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, John Owusu Amankwa, popularly known as Jowak, immediately after the party's regional congress, through his lawyers, filed an application to injunct the newly elected executives. In addition to the lawsuit, he filed an application for an injunction asking the court to order the duly elected regional executives from holding themselves as the executives of the party in the region, and also for the court to direct for a fresh elections to be held. This application essentially was going to incapacitate or stop the executives and the party from undertaking any activity in the region until the court had decided the case. Jowak, in his case, indicated that he is the only person who has the power under the NDC constitution to organize the conference. The presiding judge, Justice William Osekufo, after earlier considering the submissions by both lawyers and carefully examined documents brought by both parties, dismissed the application, indicating that the reliefs lacks merit based on Article 18(2) of the party's constitution. Counsel for the defense and the chairman of the Eastern Regional NDC legal team, Isaac Mintalabi, spoke to the media after the judgment.
The court said that the entire application is not warranted, and so he has dismissed it. So at this stage, the case will have to die a natural death. And then, we are one family. Normally, in matters like this, we even take cost. But we didn't ask for cost because we are one family. We may have to take steps to, amend our wounds, so we can go and fight our common enemy at this stage. To the duly elected regional executives of the Eastern region.
The Eastern Regional First Vice Chairman of the party, Ransford Osei-Boachi, and the Deputy Regional Treasurer, Obibini Late, who welcomed the judgment, describing it as a relief, called on the aggrieved parties to come on board.
We are all NDC members, and this win or this ruling is a win for all of us as a party, not necessarily the current executives, for all of us. It will allow the party in the region to operate successfully. Tomorrow, there will be a meeting. Thursday, there will be a meeting of the constituencies in preparation towards the Saturday's election. So we are happy. We are happy that at least there is still confidence in the courts.
Former Attorney General of Ghana, Maretta Briu-Apia-Opon, who represented the national body of the party in court on Tuesday, while admonishing all party members to use the party's internal conflict resolution mechanisms, called on both parties to unite and focus on the main goal to win the 2024 general elections.
As much as possible, use the internal mechanisms to try and resolve your issues. We are not saying that nobody has a right to go to court. Everybody has a right under the 1992 Constitution to take a matter to court. But we have, as a family, we have internal mechanisms. So let's try and use those mechanisms to resolve our issues.
Today's judgment by the court has been a welcoming news for the Eastern Regional Executives of the National Democratic Congress. They are happy about today's judgment and are hoping to unite for the greater good of the party and for the upcoming general elections. For Citi News, Neil Ni Amati Kanaku, Koforidua High Court.
Well, at a point where flag bearer aspirant John Mahama is preaching unity within the party and looking into the 2024 general elections, you expect that some of these matters will go through the internal conflict resolution mechanisms of the NDC and not even land in court, so that we avoid some of these news items. Artificial arbitration does not help. If people truly are hurt and you just patch things up and ask them just to forgo, you would not necessarily get the essence of the unity that you're preaching. Yeah, but then regardless, these issues can be addressed internally. I mean, if you have... Because this person has gone to court, his injunction application has been dismissed. Does it mean he's now appeased? He's still not. You see, there's some sort of peace that you get when there's an independent arbiter in the matter. Because here's the case, you think that the system has been generated or created in such a way that has disadvantaged you. Now you're going to those same people to settle the issues. You may never get to an end with that. Even if they rule against you and they settle it, you may not come to terms or come back saying that you are coming to help. Now, and this is a former chairman of the party in the region. And regardless of him being out of power, they may need his efforts as much as possible if they really want to win the 2024 general election. And so, for me, I agree with anybody who goes through the right process. He didn't take the it looks like the party has a lot more work to do. Well, even concerning the May 13 primaries, we've seen some executives in Menchia South in the Ashanti region threaten to injunct it. They also have some grievances. You see, usually because of how the reorganization process is, the build-up is from the smaller unit. It's usually from the in the NDC, from the branch level to the ward level to the constituency, regional, and then national. And then the voter register is usually compiled based on what happens at the ward. At the branch. The branch will vote for the ward will vote for the constituency together with others will vote for regional. And regional and the others will vote for national. And so if at any point in time there's anybody who is aggrieved by the process and think that the right processes were not adhered to or there was no transparency and accountability within the process, it tends to have impact across board. And that's why usually in these elections we have concerns with the TIN and then the TESCON list, the TIN for the NDC, the TESCON for the NPP. Because this is a list, sometimes it is not easily verifiable. They may say one TESCON rep of a recognized institution. Or one TIN rep of a recognized... How are you selecting that person? The Constitution doesn't use the president or the vice president. So here's the case. The president wants to come. The secretary wants to come. Vice wants to come. Everybody has somebody. Member wants to come. You get it. And so these issues sometimes add up to the challenges that they face. And it's important that, as you mentioned, that the parties try as much as possible to use their internal mechanisms to address some of these issues. Indeed. Well, we really hope that as one body, as one party, they do so and do so expeditiously. Well, that will be our show for today. Many thanks to you, Hansen Najiman. Always insightful. And of course, the comments. Today is like your fire was... Oh, we are doing it for Mother Ghana. For God and country. I like that. My name is Nana Tuffour Boateng. Many thanks to you for watching. And of course, keep tuned in to Citi TV.